Welcome to Chat and Shit, the podcast that's technically about gut health, but who knows what pan the chat led up in.
I'm Alana.
And I'm Lisa.
We're here to bring a celeb mate to grill our gut health experts, and nothing is off limits.
From DJs to founders of the gut stuff, we've seen it all. Gut health is complicated and it's super personal, but that doesn't mean it has to be boring.
Gut health is serious shit. It's linked to everything from your mental health to your immune system and way beyond.
Everyone's banging on about gut health now, but don't worry, this is your one-stop shop for gut facts,
Real talk,
and enough laughs to make your belly work overtime.
Let's get into it.
Right, this week on Chat and Shit, we are joined by two absolute legends. The brilliant Giovanna Fletcher, best-selling author, podcaster, actress, and mum of three. And the incredible Dr Zoe Williams, NHS GP, TV doc, and all-round expert in help us making sense of our health. So today we're diving into what gut health really looks like with a family. Kids, careers, school runs, packed lunches, and somehow trying to squeeze in a workout in amongst all the chaos and trying to get moments of peace. So G's going to let us in a bit on what she feeds three boys, because I'm so intrigued to what this is she's going to go out with. And Zoe's here to explain how stress, hormones, and those never-ending to-do lists can all impact our gut. So we're talking chaos, cortisol, cheese strings, and how to make space for your own well-being when it feels like there's none left. Hello, gals.
Hi.
I feel like this is going to be a therapy session. I've been clocking up my questions because I always think when Alana and I were actually shooting for something, we were saying what we're looking forward to in the pod, and I was like, I'm so intrigued because every time I see your Instagram, you're like, don't me just squirting my flowers and all this herbs that I'm making,
collecting back potatoes.
Yeah. I'm making the world, and I'm on a trek, and then I'm going on tour, and here's my three sons. And one of them's at a show, and this one's doing I'm like, gee, I can't. I'm exhausted just looking at you.
That's why you did that before you said anything about me.
Yeah, I was like, and here she is, blah, 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 blah. She's written a squillion books, and where does she find the time? But first, actually, can you let us know your Activia Gut Health Tracker score? Because I want to know where your baseline is.
It's 56%, which I was like,
you're raging about, or you're
pleased with.
No, that's one of the highest we've had. 56%. It's higher than me. I think
and also, I was trying to not do what I would say, but what I actually do things.
Not what you tell the doctor. What you tell your doctor. I was going to ask you that. Do you get when people, because it's always the one like how much alcohol you drink, and you're like, how much is a unit again? Do people lie?
I think, you kind of just get an idea. So if you're asking some of that questions, how many units of alcohol do you drink on a typical week? Mm-hmm. They give you an answer, and you kind of make an assumption of, well, is this relevant or not? If they're saying 12, and how many really?
Yeah.
And hopefully with me, they can be like, I'd say I sometimes go over the recommended amount. So how many really? And if they then say, okay, 42, you're like, okay, that's the truth. Yeah. Whereas sometimes people be like, maybe 6, 7, 8. You're like, okay, I think
but
they're telling
that's
the
like
truth.
2 glasses or something like that.
Well, 2 large glasses, yeah. It's not much. It's not much. But the 14 units is not a lot when you really figure it out.
I think it does depend where you are and what you're doing. Like if I'm on tour, then my rating would be very different. Because I literally at the end of going on the train tour, I was drinking every night.
Yeah, but that is a heavy show.
To just have a gin in the evenings. Whereas now I'm back off tour, I'm like, I don't drink. I'm not sleeping as much, but still getting 7 hours. So it's kind of like it swings and roundabouts depending on what life is throwing at you.
Yeah,
I think as much as anything, it's the reason that you're drinking as well. So if it's actually you're on tour, so you're in that phase of your life, it's not going to be like this all year round where you're drinking, it's Christmas, it's New Year, do you know what I mean? But if actually you're somebody who is drinking a bottle of wine a night at home on your own and it's habitual, then that's a different different ball game.
But it's true, when you're filling out surveys and stuff, you have to recalibrate to be like, okay, what is it actually that we don't ever tune in like that and go, okay, this is where I would. And it's
don't
nice
please don't try and impress the doctor.
Tell us the truth.
I used to do that in counselling, in therapy. You'd be like, I never think going to be when it was towards the end, I'm going to tell her this week because that makes me really good. And then you're like, okay, that's not really what it's for.
It's not. And do you know what? However bad you think your answer to a question might be, I guarantee
you've seen worse.
You're not the worst.
Yeah. You're not the best, you're not the worst.
Probably not the best, probably not the worst.
Yeah. Somewhere in between. And you'll have seen it all as well. That's
we're not angels as doctors. No. Anyone who knows doctors knows that. If you went to university with a medical school, We're not angels.
Yeah,
so.
well, they need the blowout. Those big brains need a blowout, you know. And G, how does... I'm always intrigued. Do you guys all have breakfast together? Like, things for breakfast? Or do you feed... how do you feed 3 children at once?
So breakfast, I wake up really early to make sure that I can get everything done and organised before they come downstairs. So usually I'll have breakfast before they even come down.
Okay.
And depending on timings, mine will be like a pot of old oats that are, you know, porridge that's already got good stuff in it that I just add water to, because otherwise, if it's more faff, I keep telling myself I'm going to do overnight oats and then I never get around to it. So by the time they come down, it's already done.
Okay.
And then, they'll come down at different times. So I feel like that hour of breakfast and getting everyone out the door is a constant, can I have this? Can I have that? Oh no, now I need some water. Now can I have some milk? You know, it's as soon as one child's ready and got the thing that he wants, another child wants something.
What sort of stuff do they have for breakfast?
Well, they go through phases, and quite naughtily, at the moment, they are having a Nutella on toast. And I'm just rolling with it. They're getting out the door.
Nuts.
They're getting out the door by 8.
It's gone nuts.
There you go.
Actually, though.
Yeah, I'm getting it. Yeah. Do you know what I
Bit of
once
fibre on
had?
the toast.
I used to chaperone kids in the theatre, and I once had a 12-year-old told me that Nutella were going out of business. I told everyone.
The fake news.
The fake news, little liar.
That's what you get for being with theatrical children. They tell you lies.
But I do think
You must have been a good actor if you believed them.
Oh, I did.
Fair enough.
I really liked her.
Oh, she.
Yeah. But I would say I do go through phases where I'll do things like I'll make chocolate spread. So it's very, very different. And the kids might, go, where's the real stuff for a while, but they'll get over it.
Yeah, and I think they don't. If you give them it as much, like if you give them it often enough, they're sort of.
Yeah, and they'll go through phases. Other days, because we've got chickens, they'll all be like, "Can we have eggs?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Oh, cute. So they all go.
It's a mixture.
Do you know what the cutest thing is? Just the thought of them all sauntering down at different times. Why is that making me want to cry?
Because I know why.
Sauntering down
Right.
like,
Because there's a point when they sleep, and they're not the first ones up and waking you up.
Yeah. When does it come, guys? Let me know. When does that moment come?
It's coming.
What would be the ideal breakfast? Because, like, my daughter loves fruit, so she has loads of fruit. But then I never know what cereal to give her. She loves this new Bluey cereal, which is probably not that good for her.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really like Weetabix, and she used to have porridge loads when she was younger, and now she's a bit like, no. Like, what would be the ideal breakfast if they're...
I mean, I don't think there is such a thing as an ideal breakfast. In an ideal world, I guess we will be having a breakfast that's got some complex carbohydrates in it, it's got some protein in it, and it's got some healthy fats in it. So,
Nutella on toast.
yeah,
Exactly.
So, I'm thinking like a bit of like nice wholemeal toast with some avocado and scrambled egg.
yeah.
But that's not happening when you've got 3 kids on a weekday, right? Maybe at the weekend. So it's about just keeping it as sensible as possible. So, breakfast cereals get a bad rep, and rightly so for a lot of them. But things like Weetabix, shredded wheat, they tend to be pretty good. Raisin wheat, we like raisin wheats in our household because of all the various different like mini shredded wheat. Yeah, and they've just got raisins in. So all the others of the range, they've got chocolate ones as well. They've got some strawberry ones, I think. They have a lot of added sugar, but these just have raisins in. So my little one quite enjoys those. Although I'll be honest, he's eating multigrain Cheerios at the moment. It's his choice. Gets him out the door. And he eats really, really well. And so if he's having that for his breakfast, I'm cool with it.
So I think circle things, she calls them.
Circle things, yeah. So, there's the ideal breakfast, but there's also the reality of life, and the two often don't marry up, do they? So I think keep it as healthy as you can. Do have a look at, if you're getting the cereal, don't let them choose the one usually with characters on. Do have a little look at the packet, just see how much sugar is in there and try and keep it sensible. Have a look at what the serving size is as well, because that can be quite frightening. Actually weigh it out just once. I'm not saying weigh your child's food, but just once weigh out what they suggest as a serving size.
It's tiny.
And it's tiny. Yeah. So if it tells you how much sugar per serving, you then have to multiply that
you don't
by.
think of that. Especially boys, because they are heckers.
They eat. I've got to say that one thing Buddy, my 9-year-old, does is he'll say, "Can I have a snack?" and he'll just get out an avocado. And now he knows how to cut an avocado.
Yeah,
he'll do it and he'll just sit there munching away. Like that. I'm so proud.
And then just thinking about things you can add on to their cereal, onto their breakfast. So sprinkle of seeds, some chopped nuts, things that you can take on the go, piece of fruit, an Activia fibre yogurt. All of these things kind of add extra nutrition.
And I think if you do stuff before they come down, it's quite like if you're serving it before they saunter down, then they're never going to know if there's some chia seeds in there.
No.
You know.
This is the thing, like we just give them options all the time, don't we?
Too much.
There's no way when we were younger we got to choose what we had.
Yeah,
that would have been like
not.
sit down, eat it, and get out of that door in 5 minutes. There's no way. Yeah. Like when we say, well, stretch or starve, then that's it. Well, you're having that, then and we're like, what would you like? Would you like circle things, or are you like? They get so much choice. It's just
I know.
like,
I found myself saying it to my son on the way home from nursery. What do you fancy for dinner? He's like, some rice, some noodles, and some pasta. I'm like, that's not going to happen. Why did I ask?
Tom asks, what do you want to have? When we're even going out for lunch, he'll ask the kids, you know, what you're going to order. I'm like, they don't know the menu. You don't ask them that question because they don't know what's on offer yet. Don't over promise. And I always think when it comes to things like in the morning, pick 2 things to offer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
2 choices.
Take it out.
Yeah, we
sweet or
savoury or
it's like I overheard a mum in the supermarket the other day, and she's like, "What do you want your packed lunch tomorrow? Do you want a wrap? Do you want a thing?" And the child's just like, and I thought, I forgot what she's even said. Never shared about 5 options. It's like, oh, just get what they're given.
Yeah.
Another tip I have actually, which I find really useful in my house, is taking advantage of the times that they're really hungry. So whenever I pick him up, I've started doing this snack box thing. So when I pick him up from nursery, and I just put up like cucumber, carrots, a few olives, whatever. And then if he doesn't eat any vegetables with his dinner, it's fine because he's had them when he's really hungry.
Good.
Or whilst cooking, just putting out a bit of crudité on the table or fruit or whatever, just something for them to nibble on that's really healthy. And then there's, you know, if they don't eat it on the dinner, it's less of a stress. Or sometimes I'll even keep the vegetables off his dinner plate and that'll go in his snack box the next day.
Oh yeah, because that's the thing, when they're hungry they will eat anything. When they're not hungry they're like, Bear's started passing his stuff back to me. And I'm like, I used to go to the dog, and now he just passes it back to me like, do you want it? I'm like, I don't want it, because he's just like going through a phase of, I think in the heat, he's like only eating watermelon and having milk. But I kind of feel like if it, you know, what can you do?
How old's Bear?
1.
Watermelon and milk sounds good to me.
Well, oh, he's 18. Is he 18 months now? What age is he? Yeah, it's a bit more. He's still 1. And speaking of Bear, sleep deprivation and our gut health. So that's the one time that I notice that I'm like bloated or have digestive issues. How important is our sleep to our gut health, and how can we navigate it when we know there are children that are going to wake us up?
Yeah, so that's the thing, isn't it? Everyone's banging on, aren't they, in the world about sleep at the moment, how you're meant to try and get about between 7 and 8 hours, undisturbed, all about things you can do to make sure that you are getting enough of the various different types of sleep. But when you have children, that all goes out the window. I mean, sleep is really important for our health and really important for our gut health as well. So some of the science around it, even if you're just sleep deprived for a day or 2, it can start to disrupt the microbiome, so the balance of the good bacteria and the less healthy bacteria. It can alter the neurotransmitters, so the gut-brain connection. So you've got this long nerve, the vagus nerve, that goes all the way from the gut all the way from the brain all the way to the gut, and that there's this bidirectional communication, as well as that you've got these chemicals that are going back and forth as well. So sleep interrupts the health of the gut. If you've got poor gut health, then that can be negative on your sleep as well. It can increase inflammation, increase cortisol, and that can affect our ability to sleep, as well as if you've got disruptive gut and you've got disruptive gut symptoms, that can affect your ability to sleep as well. So it's this vicious cycle, and if you've got children that inevitably are going to wake you up, there's 2 ways to come at this. There's one, you can try and improve the health of your gut, so through diet, or probably some of the things we'll talk about today, increasing fibre, or you can try and improve your sleep through having a good bedtime routine, trying to calm your system down at night, whether it's having a bath, using a pillow spray, or sort of training the brain to get into a good sleep routine. And that can impact on both. So whether you want to come at it from the brain angle or from the gut angle, improving your sleep can improve your gut, and improving your gut can improve your sleep. So it's trying to find anything to turn that cycle backwards, because inevitably children will only turn it one way.
Because there's that thing, isn't it, when you're woken up in the night like that, it's always a massive shock.
Yeah.
And actually you think of all the things during the day that make you sort of, you have to react as a mum. Like our levels of stress are kind of constantly going
spiking
up. I read one day, Tom told me this. He said that
is this not more fake news?
It might be fake news. He read something that, you know, when your child's really young, but there's a point where you might get really stressed with your kids, right? it takes you 8 hours for your body to go back down to the level that it was at before, in terms of like just sort of calming and like 8 hours. We'd never get back to.
I know, that's not even a full
Especially with
day.
3. You just know
Exactly. Your base is like here. Did your boy sleep?
They wanted us to be in the rooms a lot, going to bed, so it just pushed everything back. But yeah, we were really lucky. And actually, what I used to do, my way of getting through it, whenever they woke up and it was said 5 something, I was like, we're up.
Yeah, okay.
I think spending that time trying to get them to stay,
because you never go back to sleep.
You never go back to sleep. You've always got that kind of that angsty feeling. They never really settle, and it's really. I find that more disruptive than just getting up and going, right, let's go and do something.
I can tell you're a morning person.
Yeah.
Because this to me is just like, no. Child in my bed, whatever it takes. We'll go back to sleep.
We did that stuff. But and actually that, and in some ways, putting them in your bed, it is much easier if at that point they want to come in. Yeah. But now my kids sleep and I have to wake them up, and I'm outside blooming watering the plants.
Yeah.
I'm still getting up early.
Yeah, you've got new babies.
You've got new planned babies.
New baby, you've chosen to have
babies.
So many babies.
It's just you are the ultimate nurturer. That's you, Mrs. Mother Nature.
Yeah. There we go.
You're forever going to be getting up early nurturing things. That's it.
And when it comes to sleep, so my husband's in the West End, so he gets in late at like midnight, and then my daughter gets up. You know, whenever she gets up, when he hears her, that's him. Like he can't go back to sleep, even if I get up with her.
Oh, really?
So it's really disrupting his sleep, and it's long term. And so he started thinking about taking magnesium. So he said to me yesterday, he's like, should I take it? And I was like, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
Should we be taking magnesium for sleep or energy or?
Yeah, I think when it comes to supplements, apart from vitamin D, which obviously in the winter months we should all take, there isn't a single supplement that we should all be taking. But I think if you have a sleep disturbance of any type, it's worth trying a magnesium supplement. It's inexpensive, it's safe, it's not going to do you any harm. But what I always say to people is if you are making a change like that, try and just keep a little bit of a diary. So maybe keep a sleep diary and see if it makes a difference. Try it for 3 months. If it doesn't make a difference, it hasn't worked for you, and then stop it. Obviously, some people are deficient in magnesium, so will need to take it. Some people with certain conditions might be advised to take magnesium. But I think for most of us, if we sleep well, it's not necessary, but you can put magnesium in your bath. You don't have to take it orally.
Yeah, well, I like the
you can absorb it
flakes.
through the skin. I think another group of people, women who are perimenopausal, menopausal, it can help with some of the sleep disturbance there as well. So I always think that with supplements like that, if they're inexpensive and they're harmless, if it might help, give it a try, but just track it so you can see if it's helping. Otherwise, you end up on hundreds of things and you don't know whether it's working or not.
And even if it is placebo, then.
Yeah,
if it works as placebo,
He started wearing this mask that's got, you can hear it, like podcasts in it as well, but it's also a mask.
Okay, yeah.
Fucking turned around this morning, honestly. I was like next to me with this. I was like, whoa! I was like, I mean, like, scream next to me. I was like, oh my God. I was like, if it's making you sleep, go for it.
Well, I was in a tent last week for the Copperfield Trek, and I've got to say, I slept so well.
Well,
I was quite surprised. I think because I've been taking magnesium and stuff, but also because I had ear plugs that I can't use at home because I'm always worried that I won't be hearing the kids. But I just popped those in, dug deep in my tent, and just got comfy for 8 hours. 8 hours a night in a tent.
That's when you know that your kids are more of a disturbance than the elements and like potential bears or like someone coming after you. Like, I can sleep soundly in a very unsafe tent in the wild, but I have my 3 children in the vicinity of me and I won't sleep.
But also, I think because you were doing what you were doing, as a busy working woman, all the things you do, you probably have about 100 tabs open on a typical day. Yeah. I'm sure when you were there, you'd narrowed that down to maybe absolutely. 2 or 3 tabs. Yeah. You're in nature, all that fresh air, you've been so physically active all day, your body needs a sleep. Just goes to show that's the life we're meant to actually be living. You know, the fear is meant to be of bears, not of the emails that are going to be in your inbox when you wake up.
Yeah. And I think that kind of invisible load was on our health was something that I really, really underestimated. Like, and even just I'm interested to hear how you guys, like, what kind of coping mechanisms you have to like create that around you, because even just physically feeling very touched out as a mum, like someone constantly touching at you, or you know, like it's like that I really underestimated the like fractious feeling of that. What do you guys do to like create, is there any like science or is there any like, I don't know, advice of how to create that kind of wall around you when you need a moment, but it's not in a tent in a random country.
I think from a science perspective, there are lots of different ways we can calm our nervous system. So, you know, we are meant to go into fight or flight when we're in danger. In modern day life, we're not often in real danger, but our fight or flight, part of our nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, is being activated constantly throughout the day with children and stress and everything else. So the quickest way to bring yourself back into your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, is through the breath. Okay. So through breath work. We talked, actually, before we started recording today, somebody mentioned box breathing, and that's something I started using as a GP between patients. If I felt I needed to regulate myself before I saw the next patient, I would do three rounds. So you inhale for 4 seconds and imagine you're going up the side of a box, hold your breath for 4 seconds whilst you imagine going across the top of a box, and then you exhale for 4 seconds as you're coming down the side, and then hold as you're going across. If you've got a TV screen in front of you or anything, you can imagine drawing around it.
No, even just your voice.
I know.
Yeah.
But on a voice note for me.
I mean, we could do it now. Should we do it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll talk through the first one, and then we'll do one. I'll just do this.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? So slowly inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. And that sort of brings me out. So that's something you can do. It's free. You can do it anywhere. And actually, I think sometimes with children, trying not to react but respond, just doing a little bit of that can just give you. But you can even just do it. You can just take 3 deep breaths. I mean, that's what I do with my little one. 3 deep breaths.
I think being aware as well, being aware that you're touched up, being aware that that's how you're feeling is such an important thing. Because otherwise you can just sort of spiral. And so I think awareness is everything.
What do you find like writing therapeutic? Like, what's your like time for you? That is, because I always think like, what do you do? Like, you're always working or you've always got the kids. Like, when do you?
I think gardening has become my thing. That's mine. You know, I go down to the greenhouse and, you know, they'll find me wherever I am. But there is something about being out there. I've constantly got hands that are a bit rough and, you know, they've been dragged through mud because they have. But I think that has become my thing. Writing has and always was that thing of completely stepping away into going into an imaginary world, especially when you're writing fiction, because you do create, you know, something else. And actually I found that with a lot of my writing when the kids were younger, I was writing what I needed, and I didn't realise that was what I needed until I'd finished. When I first became a mum, I wrote about a group of friends who would, part of their sort of backstory was that they met for a pub quiz every week, and it's just because I'd become a new mum and I miss my mates. You know what I mean? So that has always become my way of escaping it. Not escaping, but, you know, having another world where I get listened to.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, I think all of us have this weird thing where we go to work and we're with other adults and we get listened to and we're respected and everyone's got space for each other, and you go home and it's just chaos and, you know,
nobody listens to you.
Nobody listens to you. No, exactly. So I think we are constantly going, ugh, where am I?
Yeah, and I think that sort of that cycle of guilt, and I think, you know, even before we have kids, like the journey to getting pregnant, you know, a lot of the time, and especially at our ages, it can be a longer one, it can be a trickier one that's full of, you know, potentially hormones, you know, being frustrated at your body, you know, a long time of why is this not working or what is happening. I think that kind of feeling of guilt anyway never really leaves, like doesn't really leave you when you get into the cycle. I guess like psychologically, what can we do as mums to try and break that guilt? And I know it's so ingrained in us because we've had it for
it's so hard, and I've personally have really struggled with the mum guilt, whether I do, whether I don't. Going back to work, if I work I feel guilty, if I don't work I feel guilty, and in our family I am the breadwinner, so it was necessary for me to go back to work quite early, and the way I personally managed it is I thought I need to understand it. Why do I feel like this? And Stuart, who's an amazing dad, but if he goes out for a night or goes off to work, he doesn't feel it. So I thought I need to understand why. So I just started thinking about our ancestors, and actually, you know, as mums and the roles that we used to have historically, it makes sense because we were meant to be with that child all of the time. And if they were away from us for whatever reason, for a prolonged period of time, then feeling anxious about that, feeling bad about that, would increase the chances of survival of the child, because then we didn't have nurseries and nannies or grandparents. Maybe there were grandparents helping, but so it helped me by understanding, okay, this is why I feel like this. It makes sense, but my child is being cared for, is safe, is in a good environment. It gives me a break. I'm a better mum for it. So I had to do all that. I've got a very rational brain. So I had to rationalise it. And then if I reminded myself of that every day, whenever I was away from him, I'd be okay.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Like going back to look, like primitively, because our bodies are still the same, from an evolutionary perspective, the same ones as before, but we're now in the, different patriarchy aside, in a new world. And how do you sort of address that? Because obviously with tour and stuff, like you're away.
Yeah, and even the tracks.
People don't think about Tom being on tour for ages, but when she was like, oh, she's writing books, she's on tour, what's happening with the boys?
I like to think of the fact that the boys are seeing their mum do these things.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? I think that's actually really important that they do that. And when I come back from the treks, where I might be a bit more cut off than I would be if I was on a tour, they literally are diving in my bag straight away, getting my head torch out, so I'm just like, they are being inspired by me going off on these challenges. So actually it's a real big positive that they're for all the future women that they have in their lives in whatever capacity. I think it's really important that they value and respect what they have to offer.
And I think, for all of us, like, I think that, I know that because I went back to work, but I had 3 days maternity, which I did. I had a bit longer than out of hospital, but I think, our nanny started when he was 6 weeks old, and everyone's like, oh, what's it? But I honestly think that the time that I did have with him was so, obviously he came to me for feeds and I was just putting my camera off on Zoom as he suckled away. But, I do think that they're, being able to explain to him when he's older, yes, unfortunately I wasn't there the whole time, but the time I had with him was so focused, and so I wasn't putting him down to try and do X, Y, and Z. But the hours that I had with him was so like one-on-one, because I was just buzzing to see him and just wanted to drink him in.
I think this modern day parenting, we have options that our ancestors many moons ago didn't. We have some choices, and actually for a lot of people they don't have a choice. They have to go back to work for financial reasons, or they can't afford to go back to work for financial reasons, or whatever. But for those of us who are looking to have choice, I think if we choose what works best for us and our family, that child is not going to be... There's no reason for you to say sorry to him, ever.
No,
the fact that some of the days when he was very little, the nanny looked after him, because that's not going to be detrimental to him in any way. In fact, because you made the right decision for you, that means that's also the right decision for him, and it will have benefited him in lots of ways. And like you say, even that example of the time that you then did have together was more... There was more quality in it.
Yeah, and their wee world open when our nanny's Brazilian, so all these words are Portuguese. So he says like agua, bito. And I'm like, oh my God, I could never teach him that. And he's like, all these little cute Portuguese words, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, but look,
just going back to the garden is good for our gut microbes as well, isn't it?
It is, yes, it is.
Good
nice.
News, should have been a question.
Nice think. But yeah, it absolutely is. We often live in very clean, sterile environments now, don't we? But all of those trillions of microbes that live in the ground, in the earth, in the soil, on the plants, and all the trillions of microbes that live inside of us love to communicate with each other and hang out. So by exposing ourselves to them, and therefore, exposing your children and the other members of the household to them, it's beneficial.
And I guess if you're growing your own...
Yeah, I was going to say, do you make what are you growing?
So many tomatoes, they're coming out my ears. Peppers,
caprese salads,
there we go. We've got strawberries, raspberries, potatoes, peas, beans, cucumbers, courgettes. There's a lot going on. It's amazing.
How good is that as well? Like,
G's Fibre Shop.
Nutrition-wise.
You could have G's Fibre Shop and have a little start at that.
So do you use it? Do you use them most nights? Like the fruit and veg,
especially so we're going into the season now where everything's coming good, and we're like, after months now I can actually eat the stuff. But yeah, all the time. And actually when I've got mates over, it's so great because we'll go, should we have a salad with a lunch? Great. And we'll just walk down to the veggie patch. Everyone's picking bits. It's so
amazing. It's like a fairy tale. It's what dreams are made.
It's like Meghan Markle's documentary. You with a straw hat and a basket. It is how I garden with a straw hat. a nice floral gloves.
But I think we are, as a generation, moving back into that. It's like, even we were away with one of our mutual friends, Mara, and the yoga retreat I was on, she went, I can't wait to get back to my polytunnel. I cannot wait to get back to see what's happened after a week. And I was like, I mean, we would never have said that, even like 10 years ago.
It's so exciting. And also, though, it gives you a lesson in patience, in acceptance, because sometimes things won't grow, or we've got deers that just come along and they'll just munch off like the whole lettuce and just like fine. So you've just got to kind of roll with it and kind of I am nurturing these things. They will feed someone. It might not always be us.
Maybe that pesky deer that keeps coming through, but at least it's had this lunch.
And then the deer will come back and shit on your garden.
Oh my god, this is one of the things where I was away, they had compost toilets. And they were saying, like, obviously how bad it is, like how flushable toilets, you know, how much water they take up and all the rest of it. And how much, if we did all use compost toilets, how amazing it would be for the soil. Because obviously poo is alive. And imagine us all putting that back into the earth instead of contaminating water. And I was like, oh, maybe that can be our next campaign. Let's bring compost toilets back. And it was like, I don't think anyone's
I think
going
the
to do it.
uptake would be like 0.0001%.
It's a step too far for me.
I think we're just still growing our own.
Went back to my house going, oh, these smells are so good. What do? I just shit in the compost.
Literally, we squat down, the boys do as well, and that is our family ritual on the tomatoes.
But the tomatoes taste brilliant.
Look how fantastic they are. One of the other things I wanted to ask, because I think it's, you know, as mums or as busy working people, we do miss our body cues. Like sometimes you're missing hunger cues, missing, you know, I don't know, triggers or sadness cues. Like psychologically, you do just sort of, and then suddenly you're like, oh my god, I haven't eaten, or oh my god, you know, all that stress is coming back to bite me.
I said I was going to go for a wee an hour ago, and I still
and I've now peed myself in my pelvic pads.
Good old pelvic floor ain't what it was. But you know, are there things firstly that we can do? Obviously, we've talked about what we need to tune in, but maybe small habits that we can do for us to remind us to eat. Remind us to kind of check in, you know, is there anything that we can do?
So I mean, doing the good old body scan, if it, you know, it's another thing to remember to do, isn't it? But you know, if you are feeling a bit, you've got a moment, just closing your eyes and just doing a little body scan and feeling what you feel can help you tap into those physical sensations. That mind-body connection that when you're running on automatic or you're really busy, you can start to ignore your cues, such as it's like being a junior doctor, actually. I remember being on the ward, first weekend on a surgical ward, and you run around measuring how much urine output. And I remember the nurse said after 8 hours into my 12-hour shift, and how much urine have you outputted today, doctor? Yeah. I haven't been to the toilet. She's like, I'm going to get you a large pint of water and you go for a wee, all right? But it's the same, I think, when you've got kids and you're busy, you don't prioritise even those basic human needs. But it's really important that we do. So doing a body scan. But I think the other thing, I sometimes talk about the 4 Fs, especially in relation to gut health, but just in general health. So just to find ways, and the 4 Fs are fluid. So little hacks, so you make sure you're drinking enough fluid, like have a pint glass in the shower and take a pint of water into the shower with you every morning.
That's a great
that's a pint in and done. That's one a friend shared with me, thanks Jenny. And I've always stuck with it because it's just so easy to do, or next to your toothbrush. So fluid, fibre, so some ways to increase the fibre in your family meals that you only have to think about making the change once. So, you know, could you get into the habit of putting a tin of lentils in your spaghetti bolognese, and you always do that, and it's a meal you have maybe once a week. So little things that you can, or, you know, just switching. The next one is F for fruit and veg, thinking about diversity. So switching out your cashew nuts for mixed nuts, so you're getting more diversity, or your kidney beans for mixed beans. And once you make that decision once, the work's done. And the fourth one is F for physical activity, kind of. But again, the best way to incorporate movement into your day is to make it habitual, so you don't have to think about it. So, you know, if it is the school run, can you go on foot, put the kids on their scooters? We can, but I still get in the car half the time because we're so late. But how can you incorporate it automatically into your day? Thinking about your commute to work, could you actually take that route that's slightly quicker, but it incorporates 20 minutes of walking rather than taking the longer route, which gets you there longer, but you can sit down for longer. So if it's about finding those hacks so that once you've made the shift, you automatically do that every day. So you don't have to remember, because if we give ourselves the task of having to find new ways to get enough fluid, be physically active, and we've got to work at it every day, then unless we really enjoy doing those things, we'll fall off the wagon.
Yeah, it's such a nice, simple way to put it, isn't it? Which F are you the best at and which F are you the worst at? For
F and L.
F and...
I'm good at swearing. That.
Yeah. The big F.
Yeah, the big F.
The best F.
Yeah. Food, I think I take very seriously.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think maybe that's the Italian side.
Yeah.
And getting that right. And actually, one thing I heard from a gut health specialist a little while ago was the whole idea of we get so obsessed with not having stuff, and I think that's the diet culture that we've all grown up with, like not having stuff. Whereas actually, when it comes to our gut, it's about adding things.
Yeah.
And that for me made such a massive
Your
difference.
score should have been 70, G.
No,
That's
it
what,
shouldn't.
Should have been on
But
a
that is a
75.
behavioural. I think that when it comes to gut health, I do think the biggest barrier, apart from cash and different situations, is behaviour, because we have all been grown up with restriction.
Yeah.
Healthy means restriction, and actually the mentality of adding stuff in is difficult to get your head around.
Also, using the freezer, which is a different F, it makes
We've got another
using the freezer so I can batch cook, so that I know I'll be time poor at a later date, but kind of going, don't worry.
Yeah.
Past me.
G. Thought of that.
I mean, with your family, it's a batch cook every day anyway.
Yeah. No, I imagine you with your penny on. With the fresh
Just
veg.
basically prepping to be
Some
like the ultimate
passata.
Italian nonna.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. On a some passata. You're going to have
All those
passata
tomatoes.
like yours with tomatoes.
Geez,
aren't you?
passata, that could be your business.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'd buy it.
Yeah, same. I'd buy it as well. You'd buy it. How on the physical F?
Yes.
Have you been running more recently? Did I see, or you've started or you're getting back into
more.
it?
So basically, running is one of those things that I go into and then I come out of. You know, if I'm in a cycle where the summer holidays are great for me with running because I don't have to get back and us will be out the door by a certain time. So I love doing a 5K 3 times a week. I love it. But then when we're back into the school run, suddenly things start changing. Or Tom goes on tour and I'm the only parent in the house and I can't go out for that 5K.
Yeah.
And I don't like going out later. You know, so everything does go a little bit squiff. So I'm actually hosting the Catch 5K podcast at the moment, and it's amazing hearing the different stories from people who return to running all the time, and also that reminder of, you know, so I do 5Ks, but when I go, if I have a break for whatever reason, I go back to it. Don't expect myself to go back into a 5K at the same speed, because it's almost like your brain goes, but I do this. No. Past you did this, and then you had a massive break and you ate loads of chocolate. Now
your knees need a chance to lubricate themselves again.
But because of the treks, we're doing 5 this year.
That
it
is
that.
nuts.
Yeah.
Whoa, wow.
So it is that thing of constantly keeping something up all the time, and unfortunately walking just takes so long.
Yeah.
So getting runs in is the ultimate for me.
Zoe, what do you do to work out? I can imagine you being like a gazelle when you run.
Well, I've been struggling with a back issue now for 2 years, so no running at all, which is a pain in the butt because running for me was always my therapy. So I've been doing a lot of Pilates. I was never a Pilates person. I've always been an adrenaline junkie. I want to go and throw myself off something. I want to lift a heavy weight above my head. I want to do something I've never done before. How many pull-ups can I do? But in some ways, this back injury, you've always got to find this golden thread, haven't you? It's really got me to connect with my body in a different way, respect my body, and Pilates. I've been doing that. I do quite a bit of hiking for fun. We've been living abroad a lot, me and my little family, the past year and a half. So we're trying to do a Wednesday hiking afternoon,
exploring.
And then I do still do weights. I think I'm at that age now where I'm desperately clinging onto my muscle. So I do all the seated weight machines in the gym, which is actually a little bit boring, but I know it's good for me. So I'll sit and do 3 sets of 10.
Sometimes the repetitiveness can be quite meditative, where you're like,
well,
it's
I'm one of those
boring,
annoying people. I'm on my phone between reps, sat on a
Yeah.
machine. I'm doing 10 more because I can at
Give
least
me
be
a minute, the cue for the machine. Really.
So Pilates and weights is the mainstay of what I do nowadays. But back to running one day, hopefully.
I really want to get into Pilates and yoga. I feel like it's such a...
I think you'd be good. Do you not do it?
Yeah.
I think you'd be
I
good.
used
at
to
it.
do it a lot, but no, you know.
I've been forced
Time,
into it,
isn't it?
and I like
Yeah.
it now. But yeah,
It's good just for not being on your phone, I think. Because I do Pilates and yoga on my phone at home, so I can't be on my phone if I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Duh. But that's a good thing about it, because I'm like, I am actually sort of switching off and away from the thing that causes me the most stress, which is my phone. And last week I did a digital detox, and I wasn't on my phone apart from to FaceTime the canary or
annoying me
Lisa.
with, hi, I'm having a great time.
I'm like, how's work? And she's like, stop being nosy. But genuinely, I just feel 100 times better, and that's definitely my trigger. But yoga's so good because I'm off my phone for that hour
and don't really know it, and then you come back and you're like,
well, I think yoga's so good for gut. It's like the ultimate workout for gut health, isn't it? Because if you do it properly, so you do the breathing, so that's the brain bit, calming the brain. You're moving in a way that you're sort of compressing and releasing your gut. So you've got the movement bit, and then you've got the physical activity element as well. So it is like the ultimate gut health
do you know
workout.
what we need to do? A yoga class in your fruit and veg patch, because then we've got the fruit and veg, we've got fibre, we've got physical.
And then do you have a dog?
No.
We just need some. There's
chickens.
There's a dog in this room. Where's the dog?
Chickens.
Chickens.
Yeah.
The chickens will
Oh,
do
the
just like
chickens.
the feral downward dog, a wee munch of a cucumber.
Or the deer. We can just get the deer when it comes over for his thing. Right. Bloody, it's a date. It's a date. So always at the end of the podcast, G, we ask our guests if they've got any like myth busts that they've been holding on to for years. So things like, the cabbage soup diet, hydrogen water. Like, is there something you went online where you're like, that's got to be full of shit?
It's more that, so when I was at school, I can remember, so we used to travel into Marylebone every day. So I was 16, and this, it was the start of like the juice places opening. So I'm 40 now, so it was a long time ago. But we as kids used to almost dare each other, but we all used to do it, to take this shot of wheatgrass.
Remember that? And you cut it with the scissors.
It used to be in like shopping centres next to Foot Locker. Like, what is that?
But, so we all used to do it because we were all like, it's great for you.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about
Disgusting.
wheatgrass.
Yeah. Is that any good for us? And is it something that we should be still doing now?
The like
Actual shot of
juices or the shot of
the
wheatgrass? I'm gonna have to be. I don't really know. I think
I don't know what the promise was.
It was literally like someone had grown some...
I'm sure there must be some form of nutrition in it, right? Like something in it.
Even then, 24
but having a
years
shot,
ago, I don't know how much science was actually...
yeah, I think the definition of a fad is that it goes away, doesn't it? Whereas the stuff that sticks around is the good stuff. The good stuff. So I mean, I'd be lying if I said I knew with absolute scientific knowledge.
Someone probably just one day was like,
That looks healthy.
Get that into shopping centres and give kids a shot.
If it's juicing, we know that juicing isn't as good for us because we're taking out the fibre, don't we? So we can sort of probably, but I mean, I hope it doesn't come back.
So hold off on my wheatgrass.
I think even juice. There's a real craze at the moment for like celery juices, isn't there, and all of that. And I learned something myself the other week. Somebody had posted that they'd had a celery juice and it was like £8 in London somewhere, and then shared that they found out later on that celery juice had been cold pressed in the right technique earlier in the day, and it only, I think within 20 minutes, most of the vitamins, the water soluble vitamins, actually oxidise and are not even any good for you anymore.
It's just £8
water. So I think always better to just eat, probably better than a wheatgrass shot, is to just like eat some vegetables or fruit.
From G's patch.
From your patch.
From G's patch.
Homegrown.
Usually we end on something that we've all learned, but I thought it'd be nice today to finish on like one thing that we would tell our pre-children self to better look after ourselves.
I hate it when people say, get all the sleep in now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up. Also, when you're pregnant, like now, I just still go to bed regretting every decision I've ever made. Like the hormones just, I'm like, oh God. And also you're like, oh God, there's going to be two.
Someone said to me once, so it was years before I was going to have kids, she said, you feel guilty from the moment you fall pregnant, and then that never goes. And so I took that on board as that feeling of, this is what we're not meant to feel, but it isn't just me. It's all of us.
Being prepared for the emotions. I think just even if you know it's coming, knowledge is power, isn't it? You know it's coming. I think I would, and this is what I say to all my friends who are pregnant now, especially with their first baby, is you do all this preparation for pregnancy and birthing the child. But the bit that comes next is like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So do as much prep whilst you like the pregnancy bit, for me anyway, I was very lucky, was very easy. But the bit that came next wasn't. So I could have spent that time in lockdown as well preparing for the bit that came next. I could have built all the bits I needed to build, the furniture, put together the breast pump, figured it out. I could have meal prepped and had a freezer full of food. I could have put my little rota on the fridge. This was a really good tip. A little rota on the fridge of things that need to happen on certain days. So Thursdays, bins out, Friday, whatever. And then when people come and visit you and say, I really want to help, what can I do? You say, look at the list.
Have yourself a cup of tea and look at the list.
Yeah.
That's the thing when you're feeding, like if you're breastfeeding, you don't really, when people come, they're basically just hanging off your bib for the whole time anyway. So I'm gonna do that next time.
People want to help, but then you're like, oh, it's all right, I'll make you a cup of tea. And So there's this thing called the postpartum plan, which I found out about after I'd had the baby. Have a look at that before.
Okay. Alana, anything you would do differently?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm quite a practical person. I'd probably say that to give practical advice, but I really struggled with the anxiety of it all and thinking, oh my God, the child is my responsibility.
You were out of control.
Yeah. Like everything was.
From an objective point of view.
She's still on a video monitor and she's nearly 4. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I think it's just like, they'll be all right. They're resilient. And I think we do, we were all right and we were just, off you go. So I just like, they'll always be all right. I think it's probably.
And all the things that you get stressed about, it will all stop. It will all end at some point,
Yeah.
And I think we can get really het up with stuff that we simply don't need to.
Yeah.
And then when people say it's just a phase, knowing that it really is just a phase, actually. And once it's gone, you just do forget about it.
It's so hard, isn't it? Because when people go, just enjoy it. Like, how can you enjoy something when you're in survival mode?
Yeah,
Like, it's very different, you know?
Surviving, not thriving, honeys.
Yeah, but those stages, they all, whether it's good or bad, they all come to an end, and it's constantly moving.
Yeah.
Whenever you think you've got like grips on something and you're rolling, like you're good to go, that's when it all falls apart. So just go with it.
Yeah, I think as well, like mine would be like giving myself grace because I didn't do that, but also not being afraid to ask for grace. Like just if you're in a situation where you go, do you know what? I just need to go away for 10 minutes and have a cup of tea and come back. Is that all right with everyone?
Yeah.
And like not being afraid to say that. Like I've been up all night and I'm feeling really thingy. Can I just take 10 minutes? Is that all right? And I think as women we don't ever do that. So yeah, that's what we, roll with the punches. And I think that's we can all take something.
Yeah.
It's that our microbes are transient. And our gut health is transient, and it's always going to be there. We're going to have to keep looking after it, and so are the babies in motherhood. So roll with the punches, guys, and strap in.
But I think that's it, being prepared, like knowing that you're going to feel all these emotions be all over the place, and it's okay, and giving yourself that grace is just a heads up. I wish I'd have had that.
You're going to be fine.
Yep.
You're going to be fine, and so's your gut health. All's well.
Did this gut you excited? Join our 100 Days to Hack Your Gut Health programme. The link is in the bio.
Come and find us over on Instagram too, @TheGutStuff. Pretty simple.
Thank you again to our guests and our sponsor Activia. Hit subscribe. Your gut will thank you for it.